I need to get rid of my body. Since I was a child, I felt this hum. I felt it in my bones, in my muscle and tissue. I would feel my teeth rattle and my eyes vibrate. It was never painful and rarely uncomfortable. I'd just feel it. It would come in waves when I was a teen, but from my early 20s onwards, it never went away. I'd stopped complaining about it at this point. No medical professional could diagnose. No evidence of nerve damage could be found. Nothing that showed anyone other than myself what I was going through. Eventually, they stopped listening and assumed I was making it up. They branded me a Munchausen's victim and sent me on my way. Both of my parents died when I was only 21. I was living at home at the time, which led me to become the primary suspect. However, it was eventually ruled a murder-suicide. My mother had stabbed my father to death before slitting her own throat. I inherited the house, of course. I was an only child, which is something I'm thankful for. I was always afraid of getting a sibling, just in case they'd have to hum as well, because that way I'd be less special. One of the last things my ex-girlfriend said to me was that I look like a heroin addict. She wasn't wrong. Sometimes I don't feel like I need to eat, so I just don't. This goes on for days, usually until I start to feel hungry. Same with drinking. I might swallow some tap water while cleaning my teeth, and that sees me through for a week. Other than cleaning my teeth, I don't care about so-called personal hygiene all that much. I don't shower. I don't use deodorant. I heard that most deodorants have dangerous levels of aluminum in them and can cause dementia. I locked the door to my parents' room long ago. I forget what I did with the key, but I assume I threw it away. I never wanted to go in there again. I couldn't get my head around why my mother would do such a thing. Maybe she had the hum? She never sympathized with me whenever I told her about it. So that's unlikely. They never fought, never even argued. They'd take turns watching the television programs each other would choose every night. They were such loving parents as far as I can remember. I get gaps in my memory from time to time. Never for anything important, or at least I hope not. I suppose I wouldn't be able to tell. Usually I suddenly forget where I'm going while I'm driving, and I end up just turning around and coming home. Does anyone else have what I have? My teeth were rattling more than they always do. Every day for the past few weeks, I'd wake up in the morning and they'd actually hurt. Ache like hell. I felt like my body betrayed me, as I never get ill. I've never been sick with a cold. Never broken a bone or sprained an ankle or wrist. I can't even remember getting a paper cut. I decided to remove my teeth soon after. I don't eat much anyway, and I assumed I could live on soup. I stood naked in front of my bathroom mirror and one by one plucked them out. Took some pulling, but other than that they came out fairly easily. I chuckled to myself, thinking of all the people who pay dentists ungodly amounts to do something they could do at home. I didn't know what to do with the teeth once they were out, so I just left them in my dog's food bowl. Oh yeah, I have a dog now. Sorry, I forgot to mention. I woke up one morning and he was downstairs wagging his tail. I filled his bowl with dog food and gave him a few pats. It occurred to me that I didn't own a dog, but I reasoned that I probably just forgot buying him. I had a bed for him, as well as food and a bowl with his name on it, so I couldn't see any reason not to keep him. His name is Augur, apparently. I can't tell what breed he is. I don't miss my teeth. I was right, I could just live on soup. I got a laugh out of smiling at people in public and making them grimace. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. They'd all look at me with the same smirk of disgust before hurrying off in the other direction. I bought an old cam recorder and started filming the people I'd scare. First, I'd just watch back on it myself. Then, I decided to digitize the footage onto my personal computer. Soon thereafter, I began uploading the footage to the internet. People found it as funny as I did. I'm sure at least one of you reading this saw an old video of mine. The people online encouraged me to do it more, so I did. I decided to get rid of my hair. Ripping out my hair was a lot harder than I thought. It was messy, and by the end of it half of my scalp was gone too. It was worth it, though, as people's reactions to seeing me became increasingly comical. Some even ran away. Mothers would shield their children, and overconfident fathers would try and intimidate me away from their families. I garnered quite the following. I decided to make my own YouTube channel. This was 2011, you see, so a lot more could slide by. Almost 2,000 people subscribed. I couldn't let them down, so I kept making more content. It was around this time that I had a run-in with a man called Happy. He got my number, somehow, and kept angrily calling me at all hours. He'd even wake me up during the few hours of sleep I'd get a week. One day, he knocked on my front door. I armed myself with a kitchen knife and answered. He looked calm at first, explaining who he was and why I owed him money. I told him that I had never seen him before. He got angry at that point and barged inside. My YouTube channel was doing so well. I'd make new videos now where I'd strip naked to chase after people at night. These videos got the most views by far. People started calling me a pervert in the comments, though. I tried to explain to them that I wasn't getting anything sexual out of it. It was just all for a laugh. Still, the comments kept coming. Some even threatened to get me banned from the site. I couldn't let that happen. I decided to get rid of my penis. I showed what I had done in the next video, and people asked me if it hurt. I told them it didn't, and that I didn't really feel pain. I tried to explain the hum to the people in the comments. I realized then that I finally had people that listened to me. That's all I ever wanted, after all. I set up a camera in my living room, sat down on my couch, and tried to get all my feelings out. I explained the hum as best I could, even cutting off my nose to show them how I really didn't feel a thing. I stopped the recording and uploaded it to my channel that afternoon. People started to recognize me now. I think I've become an urban legend in my community. How teenagers, instead of getting scared, laughed and took a selfie with me. That was refreshing. I went home that day to find that my YouTube channel had been taken down. I tried desperately to get some answers, but to no avail. I was angry for a while and fell into deep depression for a week or two. But then I realized that my fans could still see me, and they'd still get a laugh out of it. I realized I didn't even need a camera. I don't know how, but something told me I could just go on as normal. My house is far away from town, but too distant that I can't just walk in and out whenever I please. I've stopped wearing clothes at this point as I don't feel hot or cold. I don't feel much at all, just the hum. Annoyingly, people keep calling the police on me, so I've started to get crepuscular. Augur keeps biting me, but I don't mind. I can't go to the shops anymore, so I haven't been able to get him any dog food. Usually I just let him gnaw on me now whenever he's hungry. He's eaten away at most of the meat on my legs. He's such a good companion. They don't call them man's best friend for nothing. I caught myself in the mirror the other day. I noticed how weird I looked. My entire face was flat and featureless, apart from my ears, which stood out like a sore thumb. I took a small pair of scissors from the sink and began to cut them off. Once they were laying on my bathroom floor, I admired myself in the mirror again. Now that my ears were off, my puffy lips seemed to protrude unnaturally. I sighed at my imperfection and cut them off. Now that they were gone, I noticed for the first time how weird my eyelids were. I didn't need the scissors for those. I just grabbed them and pulled them out. I left the trimmings in Augur's bowl and laid down on the couch for a few days. Once I got up, I noticed that Augur was getting quite thin. I'm not a cruel guy or anything, so I knew what I had to do. As much as I love Augur, I couldn't look after him. That night, I took him for a walk onto the English moors. Once we were far enough away from the house, I let him go. He tried to follow me for a while, whining as he nuzzled up to me. It was heartbreaking. I told him to go and find a farmhouse to stay at, but I don't think he heard me over the wind and rain. I started to run then, and eventually he stopped following me. I made it back to my house before sunrise. I never saw Augur again. I hoped a farmer found him and gave him a better home, and a better name. All I've been doing lately is thinking. For the past few years, I've sulked around the house, trying to forget about Augur. All I've been eating in that time was myself. I found a comfortable numbness and clung to it. After a while of thinking, I decided that I need to get rid of my body. All I am is the hum after all. The rest of me is an imposter. I was making my way to my bedroom to wrap things up when I saw it. The door to my parents' bedroom was open. I took a cautious step towards it, followed by a few more. There was an all-encompassing beaming red glow coming from the room. I walked inside the room and was bathed in it. The dead body of Happy was on the floor where I'd left him a few weeks before. The skeletal remains of my parents lay embracing on the bed in the same position I had murdered them in. I coughed a bit and then left the room. I fell onto my bed with the knife I had taken from Happy. I started to cut and immediately felt a whole lot less guilty. I skinned myself first, not that I had much of the stuff left. The hum got stronger. I slit my bones open and let the marrow pour out. I left myself on a pile on my bedroom floor. Finally, it came to my head. I took my eyes out and grabbed either side of my mouth. I tore in opposite direction and split my head in two. Finally, there was nothing left of me. There was just the hum. I thought about the hum and how weird it was. Clearly wasn't in my body. I guessed it wasn't in my mind either, although I could still think regardless. Was it chemical? Spiritual? Beats me. Does anyone else have what I have?